You think it's just impulses, just pleasure. But every time you give in, something bigger than you is being drained. You feel it, but you don't understand it. A tiredness without cause. An irritation that comes out of nowhere. An emptiness in your chest even after satisfaction. It's not a coincidence. It's your vital energy being wasted. While most men live trapped in the cycle of stimulus, pleasure and guilt, a small group begins to wake up. They stop, they become silent, they retain, and in a short time, something starts to change. It's not just testosterone, it's presence, it's clarity, it's power. In 7 days, the body reacts. In 14, the mind changes. In 30, the spirit awakens. And in 90 days, the ordinary man disappears. What is born in his place is an unshakable man, whole, magnetic and master of himself. Today you will understand what really happens in your body, your mind and your soul at each stage of semen retention. This video is not about numbers. It's about the most radical transformation journey a man can experience. If you stay until the end, you may never look at pleasure the same way again, and you may finally understand what it means to be a complete man. The first week is not a physical challenge. It's a spiritual war. In the first days, the body screams. The mind sabotages, the impulse disguises itself as need. It's like fighting a ghost within you, whispering, "Just one more time, no one will know." But you know, and that's where the ordinary man gives up. He calls it release, but deep down it's escape. Escape from anxiety, from loneliness, from anger, from lack of purpose. It's not about sex, it's about control. Her attention in the first 7 days exposes addiction. And addiction is any action you can no longer choose. It chooses you. You feel tired, have headaches, insomnia, irritability. Your brain begs for dopamine and your soul longs for peace. But then something happens. Subtle but real, a spark. A deeper night of sleep. A morning with more energy, a clear thought. You feel like you're reclaiming something you never should have lost. Your will. At this stage, the benefit isn't glory yet. It's lucidity. You start noticing the triggers. The phone screen, social media, the looks on the street. Everything wants your energy. But now you observe, you choose, you resist. The first 7 days are the crossing of a desert. There are no promises, only thirst. But the man who crosses it is no longer the same. He has discovered that he has more strength inside than pleasure, and that changes everything. 2 weeks have passed, and now you feel something different. What used to be a struggle becomes clarity. The hormonal storm settles, and the sky within you begins to open. For the first time in a long while, you feel in control. The body no longer begs for relief in desperation. It works with you. The muscles respond better. Fatigue takes longer to arrive. The eyes, those same eyes that once looked away, now hold the gaze with firmness, with presence. In the mind, the fog lifts. Ideas flow clearly. Procrastination gives way to action. And the most curious thing, you begin to realize how much of a slave you were to instant pleasures. The phone, the sugar, the like, all seem easier to refuse. You're not just becoming stronger, you're becoming freer. Conversations change. People notice, not because you say something, but because your energy has changed, your posture, your vibration. What you feel is not arrogance. It's a silent dignity born of self-control. Something ancestral awakens in your chest, a sense of purpose, as if you were on the right path, even without knowing the final destination. And that's where the true gift of day 14 lies. It's not the absence of desire, it's mastery over it. You can be, but you don't want to. And that freedom, that conscious choice is what turns desire into power. 3 weeks. Something has changed in you and the world notices, even if few can name it. You walk into a room and the air shifts. People notice you. Women look at you differently. Men respect you without knowing why. That is the magnetism of retained energy. You're not showing off, you're radiating. Your presence carries a rare frequency, one that is born only from what is cultivated in silence. Discipline. The mind is now a sharp tool. You focus with ease. Tasks that once drained you now flow. Your output increases. Your creativity overflows. There is something wild and sacred pulsing within you, and you know it's real. For it's no longer about resisting. It's about creating, about channeling. You read more, train with more intensity, speak with more presence. And within all of this, a conviction is born. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Your self-worth no longer comes from the reflection in the mirror, but from your loyalty to your own decisions. The no you say to the world now echoes as a yes to the man you're becoming. Temptation still appears, but now it seems small compared to what you've built. You look back and understand it wasn't just retention, it was reconstruction. Piece by piece, day by day, you are building an inner fortress, and with every new morning, you wake with a quiet certainty. You're just beginning, but you're already stronger than ever. 30 days. You're no longer fighting desire. You're living above it. Retention is no longer an isolated practice. It's part of your identity. You feel as though something ancestral has awakened within you, a serene but unbreakable masculinity. You're not aggressive. You're centered. You're not needy. You're whole. The difference shows in your eyes, in your posture, in the way you walk down the street. Now the world responds to you differently. Opportunities appear. People listen when you speak, and not because you shout, but because your presence speaks before your mouth does. Your energy is no longer a currency for instant pleasure. It has become fuel for purpose. You think with greater clarity. You act with more precision, and you begin to envision bigger, more challenging, and achievable goals. At this point, you are no longer driven by urgency. You are guided by direction. And that changes everything. The mind is more stable, the body stronger, the spirit more aware. Pleasure still exists, but now it is transformed into a channel of creation. What once dragged you down now lifts you up. And you realize it wasn't repression, it was transmutation. You're not giving up life. You're learning to live like a true man. 60 days. Now the transformation is no longer visible only from the outside. That has taken root in your essence. You're not just stronger. You're more complete. The mind operates with surgical precision. Distractions lose their shine. You no longer chase stimulus. You seek silence, strategy, purpose. While most still jump from pleasure to pleasure, you have become capable of observing the world with calm eyes and a steady spirit. Discipline spreads. Your room is tidy. Your schedule is more defined. You start to reject chaos, not out of obligation, but because your soul demands order. And where there is order, there is space for creation. You train harder. You perform better at work. But the most curious thing is what is born within. A deep connection with something that has always been there. But you had never listened to it before. It's like an invisible compass pointing toward what truly matters. People feel it. You don't need to talk about retention, and they see it in your eyes, in your gestures, in your silence. Your presence is now crystallized consistency. And with it comes a rare gift. You begin to become a safe harbor for others, but most of all for yourself. Anxiety no longer drags you. Anger no longer dominates you. Fear no longer paralyzes you. You finally understand. Retention is no longer happening in your body. It's happening in your soul. And it is sharpening like a sword, ready to cut away all that no longer serves. 75 days. At this point, something changes quietly, but definitively. You no longer think about reaching 90. You simply live in this state. What was once a challenge has become your nature. You are not holding back. You are living as a man who owns himself. Temptations come but find no shelter. Desire knocks but doesn't enter. Your mind feels lighter but deeper. You are moved by simple things. A song, a conversation, a ray of sunlight. Not because you are weak, but because you are alive. Your pleasure receptors have been healed. What once was addiction is now presence. You begin to notice patterns you never saw before. People around you continue chasing the same cycle. Distraction, pleasure, emptiness, but you are anchored. Your productivity reaches a new level. You create with flow, you solve with precision. And more than that, you lead without having to command. People feel secure in your presence, even without words. Your energy now carries weight, gravity. You've entered the rare frequency of the man who doesn't sell himself, doesn't rush, and doesn't break. And with that comes something even rarer: sharp intuition, clear instinct, silent wisdom. You're not a hero or a saint, but you are someone who had the courage to face himself and won. 90 days, you've arrived at a place where most never set foot. Here, time changes. The body no longer fights, the mind no longer wavers, the spirit reigns. You are no longer the man who began this path. You are not just stronger, more disciplined, more productive. You are transfigured. It's as if you've passed through an invisible veil. Pleasure has lost its grip, urgency has lost its voice, and everything around you seems to align so you can move forward with purpose. Retention is no longer a goal. It's your natural state of being. You no longer count the days, because time is no longer a prison, it has become an ally. You act calmly but with purpose. You speak little, but your words reach the soul. You walk alone but never feel lonely. Testosterone stable, confidence unshakable, magnetism now inevitable, not through seduction, but through conscious presence. People approach you without knowing why. You've become that rare kind of man who carries a powerful peace and a silent strength. You lead without imposing, inspire without promising, attract without chasing. You've become the very reference of what is possible when a man aligns with himself. And the greatest reward is not physical, it is spiritual. You look in the mirror and recognize, I've defeated my demons. I didn't run away and I became whole. From this point on, retention is no longer an effort. It's a reflection of who you are. Because the man who masters his sexual energy also masters his mind, his destiny and his legacy. In the end, this path was never about semen. It was about you. About what happens when you stop running, when you stop seeking outside what has always been within. Each day you don't give in is not a loss, it's a victory. Not a victory over the world, but a conquest of yourself. Because when you say no to weakness, you are saying yes to your essence. When you retain, you transform. You transform desire into direction, impulse into presence, instinct into consciousness. Few will understand what you're doing, and even fewer will have the courage to try. But those who persevere become living legends, not for fame or glory, but for having dared to touch the most sacred power, self-mastery. And if you've made it this far, understand this: you are no longer the same. Something has changed, and there's no turning back. If this message resonated with you, remember, you are not alone. Here on this channel, we seek together what most choose to ignore: truth, inner strength, and the soul of the awakened man. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your symbol in the comments. Today it's a crown. And stay strong, because the world needs men like you